How y'all doing today? How y'all doing? Thank you for joining us today. This is Yusuf Chowdhury, digital marketing coach and speaker, and also business owner who does a lot of online marketing stuff. Yeah. So today we're gonna have a workshop, and our guest speaker Edward Alonso will talk about how to sync. Let's see. It's a speed up your development. Easy syncing between a local and live website. It's a little bit technical, but he'll talk about how to. Hey Terhil, how you doing? Hey Frankie, assalamu alaikum, akhi, how are you? So he'll go through. Are you going to go through some of the presentation or do the hands-on? How are you going to do it?
I'm going to do the presentation first.
Okay, so wait, come in front of the screen so people can see you. So he's the guest. That's Edward. That's Edward, and he's going to talk about this class. So unfortunately, I won't be able to engage folks. So you can just probably look at the screen and watch the show. It will last probably for an hour. After that, if there's any class, you can ask any question. Or if you have any question right now, just go ahead and ask, and later on through Twitter, we'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Okay. So what's gonna happen right now when you do? Here's the clicker. Here's the clicker. So what would happen? You don't have to come here because if you come here, you're gonna block the screen for them. So you can stay far away from here. Okay. Like, right? Stay far from here. You can just
higher res picture on my face.
Yeah. Look at that pixelation. All right. Good. So yeah, just stay kind of away from the. There you go. All right, folks. Enjoy the show. I'll get my office.
And I will not be able to see your questions until maybe later, because right now you're facing the other way. All right, so we're going to talk about easy syncing between sites, as the description said. One of the hardest things that I've ever found was when I was first working and developing things, was working from a local site to the main site, and had a couple problems. Here's my information. If you want it, that'll be on the slide, and these will also show up later. The new e-com is my most handle for LinkedIn, Edward Alonso, and GitHub, it's Sir Hair, because I have hair. So the series goal, let's revisit why we're going through this series. What our goal is ultimately is that when we develop, all we have to do is edit the file, save, which I didn't put there, then the browser will automatically refresh without us having to do anything. And then we just repeat. As we're going along, we can see our changes immediately. And then after a while, we'll do a 2-minute sync, which is, this is part of that 2-minute sync that we're going to be doing today. The other part we'll do later when we go Git. So the presentation tonight, we're going to do the slides and then hands-on. This way people on Periscope can read the slides or hear the presentation. And while I'm presenting, feel free to load your local server and your local site, and feel free to follow along. If you can ask any questions, but any hands-on questions, maybe about errors or something like that, we'll handle during the hands-on section. So why do we want to sync? Faster, right? Okay, this is not the right slide. But that is. Okay, this is not the right slide. I had some issues where I accidentally overwrote my whole presentation and had to bring it back from a backup.
Don't do that. Just blame the remote and go on.
Yeah. So why do we? Let's go back to here. Why do we sync? Because if you don't sync using a process like this, you can also attach it to GitHub as well. You can also attach a Git thing. Then you have to do a couple process problems. You have to first open up your local PHP, my admin. You have to export your database. Then you have to go into your database. You have to edit that database. Make sure all the site names are going to be reflecting of the new site name, and also make sure all the database configuration is properly done. So it takes time. It's also error prone. I've never got it to work perfectly. So I had a problem with that. That's why I discovered this. So what tools are we going to be using today? We're going to be using WP SyncDB, which is off of GitHub. That's a package that you guys may have already downloaded. And WCDB Media Files add-on. That just allows us to download and sync our media files so we don't have to worry about FTP, all those files. And also, to keep these particular things up to date, we use the GitHub Updater. This is what you use to keep any GitHub plugins up to date, or many GitHub up to date, and that's a good thing to have. What is also important to know is that right now, it is a complement to FTP. In the future, it'll be a complement to using Git. But right now, it's a complement to FTP, so we're still syncing our core files, our themes through FTP. But today we're going to focus on moving the content and the data, not the core files, the core structure. Our demo site is meetup.thenewe.com. You can check it out right now. And our demo content is from WP Test. That's a place where you can get demo content so you don't have to enter it all yourself. And it's a good way to test your templates using that format. So there's two methods of syncing sites. There's the pull method, which is where you go from a live site. In this particular case, we're going from a live site to a local site. But you can also go from a testing site to a production site. You can pull, and that's basically what it sounds like. You're at one place and you're pulling from the other place. And then you can also push, so you can go from one place to the next place. Now the push is very important when we're doing local sites because you cannot pull from your production site from your local site. You cannot pull from your local site to your production site. The reason is because your local site is not actually online in the same way that the production site is. So it's hard to it has to go through routers, has to go through your local server and figure out all that configuration. It's just not going to happen. But this software will help us sync our plugins, settings, and our template selections and everything else. It'll sync the whole WordPress database. So if you have a plugin that's activated on your live site, but not on your local site, when you download and sync it, it'll activate it immediately. So again, we're going to be using push primarily for pushing from local to live. Pull you can use anywhere. You can use push. You can use push anywhere, but it's especially critical from local site to production site. I recommend, after having some problems myself, that you pull from your production site first. Set up your production site, set up a testing site on the same server, one or the other. Pull from that same server because there's some server configurations and SQL configurations that might be different than your local host configuration. And if you pull, then it will automatically bring in those proper configurations. If you don't do this, you might get an error that you cannot figure out. I actually submitted an issue and resolved the issue with the plugin creator, but I don't know if that's actually implemented in the newest edition yet. So just keep that in mind. It's better to pull from your production server, even if the testing site, pull it from there before you do anything else, because that'll make sure the databases are properly configured. So how do we do this? First of all, we install the packages that I mentioned earlier and that are also on the Meetup site. We activate the packages, and then we go to Tools and Migrate Database. It's sort of weird because the name is Migrate Database even though the plugin's called WP Sync DB. Slightly different. And the reason why is because this plugin is based off of another plugin that's actually a paid plugin. You can buy that paid plugin or you can use this plugin. This plugin is just a branch off of it. It's completely licensed because the paid plugin has a Creative Commons licensing that allows derivative works either for paid or for free. So it allows that. So today we're going to pull from my demo site. I've already prepared and configured it for pulling, and we'll visit that configuration, and we'll go over those configurations later again when we push. When pulling for the first time, let me turn off my phone. Oh well. When pulling for the first time, there's a couple. It's going to be more configuration based. In the future, when you pull or push, it'll be very easy once you've saved your settings. It'll just be 2 clicks. 1, 2, done. But right now we have to set up this configuration. So when you're in MigrateDB, you need to go to Pull, select that, and then you're going to have a connection secret key that you have to enter. If you want to look at the secret key right now, you can go to this link or go to thenewe.com/blog. Oh no, I mean meetup.thenewe.com, and it should be the first one or the second one. And that'll have the pull key where you can copy it and paste it right now. You can pull the live demo site to your site. One thing you'll get is probably an Ssl warning. This is okay if you can set up and configure your SSL, that would be ideal. There's a tooltip under settings of how to configure it for your local host for XAMPP and WAMP. But for now, we're just going to assume no SSL because most configurations do not have SSL. Does everybody know what SSL is? Okay, so it's a security thing. And something you should use. You should also be using SFTP if possible, and not just FTP. Once you've entered the secret key, I have it partly up there, it'll automatically figure out what it's going to find and what it's going to replace. Usually the default settings are work perfectly. But sometimes, especially when we get into using the Schwiptip, the Ssl WordPress development package that we'll be talking about next time, you'll have a localhost :3000 that you'll need to put in there because of the way that we're accessing the site. So we'll talk about that next week, but just be aware that make sure everything looks right. And if you have any problems, once you've actually synced, it might be something like this if you're running a proxy server, which is what we'll be sort of doing next week. For the tables, we just leave the default. You can click it and leave the default. It's migrate all tables with that prefix. We're not going to exclude post types because we want everything down. For the advanced options, we leave it at the defaults again, which is replace GUI IDs, which is basically like an identifier for posts and all the items. But we'll just leave that. If you read the tooltip, it'll give more information about that. They say not to do it for certain reasons, but I just leave it because I want them to be exactly identical. And for the first one, I don't back up, but for every other future instance, you will always want to back up in case something disastrous happens. But for the first one, since we're going from a live site to a blank site, just don't worry about backing up. And this is the media files. We can also sync those right now, so we'll select media files. And you can remove the local media files that are not found on the site if you want to. That helps reduce overhead, but you don't have to. It just depends on your preferences. If you're trying to be streamlined as possible, remove the media files that are not found on the other server. Then we save our migration profile, and I recommend that we prefix it with pull. I didn't do it in this example, but you want to prefix it with pull because that will remind you when you see this profile that you're pulling from that site. Because you're going to also have a similar profile where you're going to be pushing to that site. And then there's going to be a warning at the bottom. And it's a very, very informative warning. And I recommend you copy it down and put it into a text editor off to the side for now. Because it's going to tell us what we're going to need to do next. What it basically tells us is that we need to edit our WP config or it's not going to work. So then we migrate DB, then we click migrate DB and save. And it should go from pulling to pulling complete. If you check out the local site though, nothing's changed. Why? Because we didn't do the WP config. So we need to pay attention to that warning always. Because in that WP config, the table prefix is going to change. And it will give you the table prefix that you have and the table prefix that you need changed to. Once you've changed it to the proper prefix, it'll work. It's that simple. And I haven't found many errors with this other than the one I mentioned before about pulling and pushing. Do the pull first. But if you have any, feel free to email me about it. Now, when you log in, what you'll notice is you're going to get an invalid username if you set up a different username on your local, and you'll get an invalid password. Does anybody know why?
I assume that when you download it, you sync that into the database off of the production site.
Right. So you're pulling the configuration, all the configuration from the production site, including the users and the passwords. So everything gets sort of overwritten. Actually, it doesn't really get overwritten; it just gets switched to a different table. So make sure that you do that. And for this case, the user will be meetup, and the pass will be Ssl, the NUI, to access it. And then for the future, is everybody following this? Any questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots
Pretty-
of questions, but follow me.
Okay, what questions do you have?
Well, you mentioned WAMP and XAMPP. I've been developing on desktop server. Will this work with that, or do I need to
I think it should.
go back to WAMP?
haven't used desktop server, but there shouldn't be any reason that it should conflict.
I mean, it's just automated on top of XAMPP.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a form of that, but
Yeah, I mean it should be fine.
okay.
You shouldn't have any issues. If you do, we can try to troubleshoot it and figure it out. Be happy to. Any other questions?
Last time we met with you, we built this on our own, our
Right.
website. Are we not going from that point forward, or is this starting out at
So-
a different spot?
What this is doing, we're preparing to be able to do two things. We're preparing to pull down a site that we already have, and also push up whatever site we create up. You don't have to do both in the same. You don't have to do both, but the next step will be pushing, which will be going from our local server to the main server.
And is that the site that we set up before?
Yes. Yeah. And if you already have content somewhere else, you can pull down that content. But keep in mind it'll shift tables, so you're going to lose whatever you already have in a way. I mean, it's still there. You can still access it, but you have to open up a new install to get it. So, for example, today, this is just like if you have a live site that you want to edit, you want to prepare a new template for, you pull down from that live site, develop it, and then push. And usually you'd want to push to a testing site so the client knows what it's going to look like before it goes to live. Alright, so when we pull again, it's a very simple process. It'll tell you, would you like to use a saved profile? And the answer usually would be, yes, I want to use that one. The one that says pull, it should say pull, but I didn't do that. And then all we have to do is click Migrate DB and save. Just 2 clicks after that. That's it. And it's going to be 2 clicks again when you want to push. Once we configure the push properly, you just click the push meetup, migrate DB, and you're done. 2 clicks saves you 30 minutes, 20 minutes, however fast you are at
A whole
migrating.
weekend.
There you go. Yeah. So it's a nice plugin that I love to use because it makes everything so much easier in my life.
And you don't have to rewrite the UTC?
Not anymore, because your configs are already synced. Your configs are both using the same table prefix. It's that easy. Isn't that great?
I gotta think about that one. Wow.
So, when we push, it's a very similar process. And we'll talk about how you set up the remote server here. As I mentioned earlier, I had already previously prepared the remote server for us to pull from. But now we're going to go through how we would prepare it to push or to pull. So when we push, we're going from a local site to a live site. And we need to push, as I said earlier, because your local server is not accessible from the internet. It's usually firewalled or just all funky things that are between it. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go from local site to the live site. I put a newest sticky at the top so you can see it. And then we're going to push. So the live site configuration, we go to the live site first, select settings, and then at the very top of the settings, very simple settings here. You can accept pull requests, you can accept push requests, and you can enable SSL verification. You're going to want to accept push requests when you're pushing from your local site to your live site. And you're going to want to accept pull requests when you're pulling from your live site to your local site. Once you have done that particular process, you want to uncheck this to help secure your server again, because you don't want these to be open in the wild. It's hard for people to be able to hack it, but it's theoretically possible. Because all they need to do is know your site name, which is public, and then they need to figure out the secret key, which though it's maybe 30 characters long, is still theoretically hackable. So we accept push and we copy the connection info to a text editor because we're going to need that later. I already mentioned all this stuff, I think. Yes, I did. And then when we go to the local site, we're going to start fresh. We're going to click push, enter in the secret key again. We're going to check the find and replace, make sure those look proper. We're going to back up because now at this point we already have an existing database that we want to keep. We're going to check media files because we want to sync those media files again because maybe we added something on our local site that's not on our live site. And we want to save the migration file with a push prefix so that in the future we know it's pushed to that site. And then we just click migrate and save the database. And again, it should go in the same progression to complete, and your live site should be set up. Pretty easy. So it's a very quick process. It takes a little bit of configuration, not too much, but hopefully it's accessible. Any questions? You look very intrigued.
Oh, I've just been doing this the hard way because there wasn't an easy way.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking how I'm gonna, because now I've got a live site that's different than what I've got on here, because I'm developing some new themes and some other stuff on here. But there's content up there that, you know, so my brain is racing everywhere. So
yeah. Yeah, this is really great, especially at the beginning of a project. In the middle of a project, it might cause some issues. But it's great to have at the beginning of the project. And depending on which one has more or less changes, you know, you do one or the other.
Well, but there's no reason you couldn't start a new development site, sync it down, then you should be able to then just move the stuff that you're working on.
Yeah, you have to copy and paste. I mean, the template, that's easy to move.
Yeah,
That just,
you know, and as long as you take your child theme and everything, I mean, everything else, that should work.
Yeah, I mean, if
And then when you upload it, the theme goes with it.
Yeah, if your current site that you're working on doesn't have any content that you want to keep, then you can just sync it right then and leave the templates and everything. And you'll have to reselect your template again, but that's it.
Wait, say that one more time?
You'll have to reselect your template under appearance.
The one just before that. Yes, I got that part, but.
Okay. If there's no data, no content that you want to keep, content like pages, like posts and pages. Like
on the live side?
On your current development site.
Okay, on the development.
Then you can pull everything down, all the content down, and just apply the theme. But if you have pages,
yeah. Okay, I got you.
But if you already have pages, then you have to decide which is going to be quicker.
Because you already have a live and you don't care the content.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if the content is the only thing that's different, and you don't really care about the current content that you have, because what it will do is it'll erase any pages, any posts. Erase.
Well, those are actually all the same. There's just new posts that
so you just need to sync
that
it.
are not down on my local as a work.
Just need to sync it.
So I just need to pull it back down there and then
Done.
Reactivate the theme and continue
It
working
should be
on it.
perfectly fine. And any configurations that maybe that are different, you might have to reset, but those should be minor compared to content.
Yes.
Should be minor. You never know. Should be more complex. Any other questions? Okay. I do want to make a note that this demo site will be burned after this class because I do not want to have open access to my server. And also, never, ever, ever, ever share your sync key, your secret sync key. That's a bad thing. But for the sake of this class, I'm allowing you guys to play with my server a little bit. So now we're going to go into the hands-on section. So if you guys have everything set up and loaded, you can try to go through the steps. I can go through the steps again, one by one, and we can go through and make sure everybody's on the same page, if that's what you would like.
Since I missed last week, I looked at the instructions and I just downloaded the WordPress. Then I also, though, I had installed it on another website that I have that I'm gonna end up with the WordPress site, but I called it blog, you know.
Okay.
That blog. So was I supposed to do that, actually install it online on my server? Our
You don't
server?
need to.
No, okay. So I'm a little confused about how we're gonna start. That's all right.
Okay, well-
Is everything in there? All the instructions on beginning to end, so if I read those, I would be okay.
I hope so, because I'm gonna go download this.
Should be. I'm also going to make a post. Here's another thing. This will be posted as a blog as well at thenewey.com/blog. But you can also use the slides. Since you've already gone through this, you already know the slides, you already know the basic flow, you understand the reasoning. The slides are a quick way to do it too.
Yeah, I just downloaded it. But I've got all the stuff. I just didn't know exactly how you were going to start out.
Well, I was trying to get just a text editor open so I could type,
Yeah.
because I can't remember that long enough to get out of here.
Exactly.
Okay.
Is that this paper?
So, who would like to go through syncing the demo site? Would you like to sync the demo site?
I don't have any of the packages or anything else downloaded or anything. This is,
I've got everything that you told me to download, and you're.
Okay.
I'm gonna watch over
So I
somebody's
can work with you on that.
Uh-huh.
Did you want to download the demo site?
Okay, how?
Yeah, that's kind
Okay,
of what.
so that's what we can do now if you'd like to.
That's the hands-on,
Yeah,
how?
that's hands-on, right,
You
right.
want all this on to log on everything?
Yeah, you'll need those if you're going to download the demo site or to use it for yourself. You don't need to download the last one right now.
But you gonna download all the others?
You'll need to talk to them.
Now, there was two on GitHub too. One was the updater and the other was the actual package, right?
Yes. That's all the way at the
I didn't
beginning.
get those URLs.
They're really long. I would recommend looking at the slides. There should be clickable slides. They're also on the meetup page.
Oh,
You know,
are they?
Yeah, that's right.
they're on the
I got
meetup
'em from
page
there,
under
yeah.
the
Sent it to me from
the thingamajigger.
I just went to meet up and signed in and got them. It's
Yeah,
just,
meetup.
Just meetup.com.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Get that.
There's the essay online, but I think the WordPress has an easier name to use. San Antonio WordPress
That's
is the meetup / San Antonio WordPress, and that's where you can. There's the packages right there. You just need the top three. The last one is Sublime Text, which we can talk about after we've gone through the hands-on for the sync. Did you want to do hands-on for the sync as well?
No, I do not have a site. I was going to shoulder serve tonight.
Okay.
Do I have to sign up here for the this? You might.
Do you want to do hands-on?
No, I'm cool.
Okay, I'll do hands-on with you for 21.
Okay. I didn't get the
Did you
site last
download the
time.
packages yet?
Yeah, I've got all these websites open.
I downloaded the top 6 for all of them.
The top 6?
Zip.
Which I got?
Zip.
Oh, zip. Okay, so I never got my site up last week. You told me now. You understand me?
Okay, that's good.
So download the zips on each page, or
Yeah, on
each
each
one,
page.
not all of them.
Just the top one, the top
Okay.
version. Okay. So you don't have a local server installed yet, or do you?
Well, I do. I mean, I could go to it if I needed to. I've got, no, not a local server. I don't have a local server.
Oh, do you have the XAMPP installed yet?
Well, you know what? I installed it a long time ago, and it probably is good, but I just never was able to use it very well. Let me see.
Okay.
What I did was I just downloaded this.
Well,
Let me find it.
well, I think
I got a WAMP.
Well, I can play with desktop server and see what it'll do, because I just
So since I
installed
think we
a
have-
test site this weekend.
Everybody in different locations. I'm going to do the next part, the Sublime Text presentation, so that other people can listen to that and then move on. Because I think we're going to need to do a lot of one-on-one.
Do I need to download? Well, I've got WAMP, but do I need to download? I think I did have XAMPP, but I don't know.
WAMP could work. It's going to be slightly different configurations sometimes.
Yeah, XAMPP
Just
is
depends.
better, maybe.
I use
could download it.
XAMPP.
I could download it. It's,
All right, so we'll do the Sublime quick thing. This is not as nice of a slide set because it was my
You go
thing
ahead
for.
and download Sublime, the package Sublime. too.
Yeah, you can. Well, you can, yes. There are two. Let me do the first two slides, and then you'll understand why I'm saying hesitantly. Okay. Okay, so Sublime Text is a text editor that I use currently, but there's another text editor, which is where it comes in, that I'm planning on probably switching to because it's free, and because of that, I think it's going to be more long-term, or more long-lasting. But it should have many of the same features as Sublime Text. But what I'm using Sublime Text here today for is to give you an example of how a good text editor